Alrighty, so last activity of this lesson, and it's activity 2.4. So now we're going to get some practice solving equations with rational coefficients. So basically what that means is you're not going to get anything crazy or any long extended decimals. For the most part, you should end up with very simple, or for the most part, simple equations. So number one here is done for you, but as always, I'm going to go in and I'm going to solve it using my little handy dandy tools over here. So for number one, so for all of them, you're solving each equation and making sure to check your work. And again, to check your work, you just plug your number back in for x, and then if it makes the statement true, then you're good. So for this first equation, I see that I have a fraction, and as always, I don't like working with fractions. So to get rid of that, I'm going to multiply everything by my LCD, which is 4. And again, these 4s will then cross out. And now I'll be left with 3 times 2x plus 5 equals, and then I have to do 4 times 14, which is 56. And now from here, it should be simple math. I'm just going to distribute the 3 to both things inside of the parentheses. When I do that, I end up with 6x plus 15 equals 56. I'm going to subtract 15 on both sides. I'll be left with 6x equals 41. Divide both sides by 6. And unfortunately, I'm not going to get a whole number here, but what I will end up getting is 41 over 6. But we have to simplify that, so that's going to look like 5 and 5/6. So we're going to let you do 2, 3, and 4 on your own. So 2, it's basic math, combine your like terms, subtract or add, get x on one side and your numbers on the other. 3, I would focus on trying to find your LCD. It'd be the best so that then you can get rid of that 3. For number 4, I would multiply by 100 since you have 2 numbers after the decimal place. And then 5, this is about as straightforward as it's going to get. Distribute that negative 50 and then you should be able to solve. Now this page is definitely a lot harder, I'm going to be honest with you. So 6 is still pretty self-explanatory. You distribute, get x to one side, and you guys will be golden. Now number 7 is similar to a problem that we've done before, but not quite. So that's why we're going to go through it now. So the first thing that I'm going to do to save time is distribute the 3 to both items and the 4 to both items. So I know previously I was doing them separately, but if you know how to use the distributive property, all you need to do is distribute the number on the outside to both things or all the things that are on in the parentheses. So when I do that, so I'm going to show the first one, so 3 times x and then 3 times negative 1. So 3 times x minus 3 times 1 gives me 3x minus 3 plus x. So again, that plus x is still there, so we have to keep it in our equation. Next, I'm going to do the 4x plus 2. So when I distribute that, 4 times x gives me 4x. 4 times 2 gives me 8. Now I'm going to combine my like terms here. When I do that, on the right-hand side, I have 3x and I have a positive 1x. So 3x plus 1x is 4x minus 3 equals 4x plus 8. Now I'm going to add 3 to both sides. When I do that, I'm left with 4x equals 4x plus 11. I'm going to subtract 4x on both sides so I can get my variables to one side. When I do that, I'm left with 0 equals 11. Now, can 0 equal 11? No. I wish it could. You know, when I'm like, oh, I have $0, which really meant I had 11, that'd be fantastic. But 0 does not equal 11, and 11 does not equal 0. So when we see something like this, when we have 2 numbers are set equal to each other, we call this no solution. And you probably saw this previously in the second part of 2.3. This was one of the options that you should have gotten or should have seen. So now we're going to go down to number 8. So number 8 was mostly done for you. You were asked to finish this problem, so I think this is one that you should be able to do on your own. I'm not going to finish it for you. I started it for you, and it's actually pretty simple, the last little piece that you have to do. If you were stuck and don't remember what you need to do, I would say go back and look at activity 2.3. And then number 10, this is the big one. There's a lot of ugliness going on here, and I figured why not help you guys out just a little bit. So with this one, again, I have fractions, and as you guys know, I despise them. So the first thing that I'm going to do to get rid of those fractions is multiply by my LCD. My LCD here is 3, because I have a 3 here, and I have a 3 here. So remember, I multiply everything, every little piece, every term by 3. Now when I multiply the 3 here, when I multiply 3 times 2/3, these 3's cancel out, and all I'm left with is 2 times 6x minus 5. When I multiply 3 times 2, I just get 6. Keep my subtraction there. 1/3 times 3. Remember, it's 3 over 1. Those 3's cross out, and I'm left with 1 times 3x minus 2. So that's the first step. Now, another reason why this is more difficult, because you're probably like, well, I know how to distribute. I've done the distributive property multiple times. I'm a professional, which is great. And the thing is you'll probably do the first one right, but you'll probably mess up the second one. So if you're looking at the first one, you distribute the 2 to the 6x and to the negative 5, so you end up with 12x minus 10 equals 6. Now, the second distributive property that you need to do has to deal with a negative 1. That's not just a 1, it's a negative 1. So you have to distribute negative 1 to 3x and negative 1 to negative 2. When you do that, you end up with negative 3x plus 2. So now, I would say combine your like terms. On my left-hand side, I don't have any terms that I can combine, but on my right-hand side, I do. So I'm going to combine those like terms. So my 12x minus 10 is going to stay the same, and then 6 plus 2 is 8, so 8 minus 3x. And again, I like to keep my variables as positive as possible, so I'm going to add 3x to both sides. When I do that, I am left with 15x minus 10 equals 8. I'm going to add 10 to both sides. When I do that, I'm left with 15x equals 18. Follow me right up here, almost done. So we have 15x equals 18. My last step says I need to divide 15 on both sides. So then I have x equals 18 divided by 15. And of course, this is not simplified. To simplify this, you divide both sides by 3, or both numerator and denominator by 3. When you divide both by 3, you end up with x equaling 6/5. So hopefully, by now, after all of our practice with this, it's starting to make sense kind of how we do this and what needs to be done in order to solve these kinds of problems. If you go and look at the exit ticket, there's actually some help there that might be able to help you for the rest of the activity if you are stuck.